Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I'll do these in French and English, so give you more time for questions in the room and online. So in June, we shared a set of commitments to improve HR and pay services across the Government of Canada. Today, we're reporting back on what's working, a few things that are lagging, and what's next. It's important to note that the dashboard that we've been providing starts in April 25 and ends in June 2026, so it's an extra quarter to the fiscal year. So we're halfway through that segment of time, and the results are currently showing steady progress, and we're very happy with them. So it's easier to start with what's going well, so let's start there. Nous avons fait de réels progrès sur la réduction de l'arriéré. 43% des 102 000 cas généraux de l'arriéré ont été traités. Plus de 55% des 19 000 cas prioritaires d'avant-garde du ministère des Services partagés Canada ont été traités. Si la tendance se maintient, on espère être sous les 100 000 cas d'arriérés d'ici le mois de juin 2026. Important de noter qu'on ne contrôle pas toutes les conditions, mais ceci est notre objectif. We're also making a lot of progress with Dayforce configuration. We're halfway done configuring Dayforce. And we are also at a point where we've integrated data for our pilot departments of public services, Shared Services Canada, and Public Services and Procurement Canada. So the success ratio for the data integration for the pilots is 96%, which is a huge step up from what we've done in the past. If you'll recall, with our previous Phoenix system, we did no data integration or data testing. The data readiness is what's going to enable parallel testing and ensure that Dayforce works from day one. And we're making sure that we also avoid Phoenix failures of the past. There are some areas on the dashboard that need acceleration, as you could see. So some commitments are going to require us to move a little bit more aggressively in the next 2 quarters. So for example, on AI, only 6% of our 160,000 cases have been processed using the new tools so far. Unfortunately, we missed our reporting period, our own reporting period, by a week. So if I were doing this a week later, I'd be telling you that our AI program has delivered an additional 5 case types for a total of an additional 55,000 cases annually. And that by December, we're reporting green on additional case types that'll bring us closer to 135,000 cases being processed automatically. So we'll be at about 135 of the 160,000 cases that we promised. Nous travaillons également avec les ministères pour examiner et adopter des processus de ressources humaines et de paye standardisés. En septembre, on a 3 ministères qui ont terminé leur examen et depuis la semaine passée, le nombre est rendu à 10, ce qui n'est pas nécessairement reflété dans le rapport trimestriel. Il est important de noter qu'on a 189 processus de ressources humaines qui ont été standardisés depuis le début du projet. HR standardization work is paramount. If you recall, this was another major failure point of the previous system when launching Phoenix, and we're gradually decomplexifying our HR environment. That said, technology alone isn't going to deliver transformation. Change management is critical, and preparing departments and employees for the upcoming change is vital. Pay accuracy today now sits at 98.4%, an increase from our last reporting period, but many remaining errors stem from delayed or incorrect HR actions. It's not necessarily always the pay system's fault, and we need your help in dispelling some of these myths. Cela signifie que les ministères doivent assumer leur part du processus. Un échec à saisir les données à temps n'est pas un problème de système, mais un problème de responsabilité de ressources humaines. Il est impératif que les gestionnaires comprennent leurs responsabilités et traitent les mouvements de ressources humaines dans les délais prescrits. Les employés ont également un rôle à jouer, rester informés, assister aux séances d'information et signaler rapidement des problèmes. To put this in a real-life example, here's what HR accountability means when it comes to, for example, overpayments. Overpayments continue to be reported as a pay issue, but over 70% of them are actually due to the fact that managers are not approving transactions on time. So for example, when an employee goes on leave without pay, but their manager doesn't input that leave into the system, the employee's pay continues as normal, causing an overpayment. That's not a pay issue, that is an HR management issue. Ce n'est qu'un exemple parmi tant d'autres. Payer les gens à temps, c'est un travail d'équipe. La réussite dépend de la responsabilité partagée à l'échelle du gouvernement. La préparation de la part des ministères, la mobilisation et le leadership détermineront notre réussite collective. À cette fin, on va lancer un tableau de bord de préparation ministérielle au début de la nouvelle année. Ce tableau de bord vous sera partagé en janvier. Il donnera un aperçu clair et transparent de la situation de chaque ministère et de ce qu'il reste à faire pour la mise en œuvre de Dayforce. So we'll continue to track progress and share lessons learned from our 3 Vanguard departments. These insights will help refine the onboarding process for the rest of the Government of Canada. And as we move towards June of 2026, we'll obviously keep the focus on transparency, collaborations, and outcomes. Net, we are on track to deliver on our commitments, and we will be ready to launch parallel payroll testing as of June 2026. Our Vanguard departments have worked diligently to get their data ready, and the Dayforce system will begin to be onboarded for those first 3 departments as of late May 2026. Donc, il y a beaucoup de progrès qui est fait, et puis on a beaucoup de temps pour vos questions, donc merci beaucoup d'être ici aujourd'hui.
Thank
pour les
you.
2 personnes en personne.
We'll start in the room. One question, one follow-up, and then we'll go online. If you have a question on Zoom, please use the raise hand function. And given that, we don't have a lot of people here, you might be able to go more questions afterwards. Marlo from the Hill Times, go ahead.
Hello. I would like to get a better idea of how widespread these issues are with HR management resulting in payroll issues. Do you have payment issues? Can you give me an idea of how big that issue is?
Yeah, we are now, so the short answer is we're going through all of the data right now to continue identifying the pain points. The example I gave you on overpayments is our most mature analysis that we've done, but another example I could give you is on transfers. Often people not getting paid, either their new increment when they transfer departments is labeled as a pay issue, but sometimes the outgoing department doesn't process the transaction or the incoming department doesn't process the transaction and it stays lingering for a year, sometimes months, sometimes years. That is an HR input that has nothing to do with pay. So we end up getting it a year later and then it's labeled a pay issue. It's not a pay issue, it's that the transfer between the departments weren't done. By the time we come back in January, we're gonna have a full breakdown of the 1.6 million transactions that hit the pay center, and we'll be able to tell you the exact source of where each of these issues is coming from. And that's pretty imperative for us because as of January, we're gonna start sending transactions back to departments and not managed centrally by the pay center. So overpayments is one of those examples of transactions that we will send back to departments so that we can keep our compensation advisors focused on pay issues and let departments manage HR management issues. So we're kind of putting the accountability back where it belongs.
So just to clarify, it's a human HR error in these departments.
Often, yes.
Often.
And this is just to be clear, not to say that the system is perfect, not to say that the compensation advisors don't do mistakes, but when we know them, we could catch them and correct them fairly quickly. We're at 98.4% payment accuracy, so we feel very good about that. We now need to find a way to manage intake into the pay center and into the older system that we have to make sure that we can manage that flow better. And a lot of that has to do with departmental accountability.
Second question is about Ava, the chatbot. Why is processing in that area, behind schedule?
Yeah, behind schedule by a week, which means I had to report that it was behind schedule. But we had to make a pivot about 6 months ago from trying to manage intake or backlog with artificial intelligence and automation and move to intake. We really have to stop the bleeding of what comes to the departments. And so by doing that pivot, it delayed us by a month or so. And we've been able to make up most of that time. We were short a week for this reporting cycle because we had about, 18,000 cases or so being managed with Ava now. But as I said, as of last week, we have an additional 55,000 cases. We just missed our reporting period by a week, unfortunately.
That number plus 55,000.
That's
so
correct, yeah.
160 plus 55. Okay, just wanted to triple check.
Yeah. So of the 160, by the time we report in January, we're anticipating to be at about 135,000. So I would report it orange, but going towards green.
Grace from Global News.
Hi. My question is related to the budget. Has the government consulted at all with PSPC about spending restraint? And if so, what did those discussions focus on?
Yeah, we have our funding until next fiscal year. So there's not been a lot of discussions on that front. For us as a project, the way we've been funded is phase by phase. Next time we go back for budget, it's for deployment. So we will have done all the prep work, all the consultation. So for us, I think it was budget 24, we received 2 years of funding. So we're good to continue the definition phase of this project and move forward.
I don't have a second question.
You sure?
I'm sure.
It's our third day.
Yeah, you're doing good.
Okay. I don't see any raised hands on Zoom, so I will just give a little bit of time for anyone who wants to raise their hand. Marla, did you have another question?
Absolutely. Correct. Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission, Shared Services Canada, and PSPC. I believe it'll be closer to 30,000, but we'll get you the exact stats just to be clear there. But I think it's closer to about 30,000. I think SSC is about 10. We're about 19 at PSPC, and then left over of that is CNSC.
Is this tracker, is it going to be sent out? I tried to take a picture of it, but it was kind of.
Yeah, we could send that out for sure. Yep,
That's
that's
awesome.
not a problem. A lot of our documentation, I will invite you, is on our open government portal. So, our meeting minutes are, you name it, a lot of things are there. Our third-party testing, as soon as we get through that, will be there. So the portal has a lot of that information, but we're definitely sending that around.
Anything else? We're good? Last call? Okay.
We are
We're good.
so close to success. Thank you.